right, well, let's move to the NL East. We got some more drama in New York. The Mets should trade Pete Alonso.
No, the Mets shouldn't trade Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso just feels like he is the New York Mets. You know, like the Mets have that thing, LGM, let's go Mets. Pete Alonso comes along and just makes it LFGM. And that's like, we all know what that means.
Go ahead. You got permission from your mom.
I did have permission from my mom, but she said use it sparingly.
Okay.
So not today.
All right. That's fair.
LFGM. We all know what it means. Pete came along, made it a thing. And now I just like he embodies what I just feel like Pete Alonso is going to be one of those guys that you look up in a few years or at the end of his career, and he's a guy that stuck it out with the Mets through hard times, and then made it through with the good times. And I believe the Mets in a few years are going to be good because of the decision that they were able to make at the trade deadline. And I just think we're going to look up and Pete Alonso is going to be there. I think it would be a big mistake to trade Pete Alonso. The energy he brings, the passion he brings. I know there was some drama that came out recently about Pete, and it just feels like people are searching for drama with the New York Mets sometimes. You know what? Sometimes a team just stinks, and you don't have to search for drama to make an excuse of what's going wrong and who's to blame and why is this happening? Why is this happening? The team underperformed, and that's okay because it happens, but we don't need to point fingers. We point fingers at Max Scherzer as he walks out the door. Then people were trying to point fingers at Justin, and then people are pointing fingers at Pete Alonso. You know what? It just didn't work. And the season was a failure. And sometimes that happens in sports, right? You look in the mirror, you tear it all up, you try and build for the future, and you start all over. But you don't start all over without a guy like Pete Alonso. I believe he's going to be the first baseman there for a long, long time. I think they're going to sign him long term. Steve Cohen has said as much. And in case you haven't heard, Steve Cohen is the one that opens up the pocketbooks and says that. He wants to get a deal done with Pete. I think the city loves Pete. I think Pete loves playing for the Mets. And I absolutely do not think that the Mets should trade Pete Alonso.
I think there needs to be a conversation with Pete Alonso and Steve Cohen because he becomes a free agent after the 2024 season. And as we've heard both Max Scherzer and your brother talk about in their discussions with the Mets as to why they were leaving, is they're looking to have a semi-soft reset next season, maybe 2 seasons. And is that something that Pete wants to be a part of and to grow and build? And if he does, that's great. Then he's here to as you said, he is the Mets. He is the face of the Mets.
Yeah.
But I do believe it should be an open conversation, kind of like Steve had with Scherzer and your brother.
Yeah.
See how he feels about it.